In the cold dawn of medieval Europe, when stone castles rose through the mist and kings ruled by sword and seal, there existed an order so powerful, so wealthy, and so feared that its name would echo through history for centuries: the Knights Templar. They were not just warriors, they were monks in armor, sworn to poverty, chastity, and obedience. Yet they controlled vast lands, commanded armies, and managed fortunes that stretched across Christendom. Pilgrims trusted them, kings borrowed from them, enemies feared them. And then, almost overnight, they were hunted like criminals, tortured into confession, and destroyed by the very world they had once protected. But their story did not end with fire and blood. Because when the Templars fell, a question was left behind like a shadow in the ruins. What happened to their treasure? The story begins in the aftermath of the First Crusade in the early 12th century. Jerusalem had been captured by Christian forces, but the roads leading to the Holy Land remained dangerous. Pilgrims traveled from Europe to pray at sacred sites, only to be ambushed by bandits and raiders along the way. In 1119, a small group of knights, led by Hugues de Payens, made a vow to protect these travelers. They called themselves the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. Their headquarters were established near the ruins of the ancient Temple Mount in Jerusalem. And from that location came the name that would become legendary: the Knights Templar. At first, they were few in number and humble in appearance. Their symbol was simple but unforgettable: two knights riding one horse, a sign of their original poverty and devotion. But their mission was powerful, and their reputation grew quickly. The Church officially recognized the order in 1129, and with that blessing, the Templars began to rise. What happened next was extraordinary. The Templars became one of the most efficient and disciplined organizations in the medieval world. They built fortresses, guarded trade routes, and fought in the Crusades with unmatched courage. But their greatest strength was not only on the battlefield, it was in administration, finance, and trust. Because they were monks, they were expected to live without personal wealth. Because they were warriors, they were trusted to defend what others could not. This made them ideal custodians of money and property. Soon, nobles, merchants, and even kings began depositing wealth with the Templars for safekeeping. In effect, the Templars created one of the earliest international banking systems. A pilgrim could deposit money in Paris and withdraw it in Jerusalem. A nobleman could fund a crusade through Templar networks. The order accumulated land, castles, ships, and enormous financial influence across Europe and the Middle East. Their wealth became so vast that whispers began to spread. How could men who took vows of poverty possess so much? What secrets were hidden behind their sealed chapels and guarded vaults? And what exactly were they doing with all that power? Among the many rulers who depended on the Templars, none was more entangled with them than King Philip the Fair of France, known as Philip the Beautiful. Philip was a brilliant but deeply troubled monarch. He fought costly wars, maintained a lavish court, and constantly struggled with debt. Like many rulers of his time, he had borrowed heavily from the Templars. But unlike others, Philip did not merely owe them money, he resented their independence. The Templars answered to the Pope, not to the king. They were wealthy, organized, and beyond the reach of ordinary royal authority. To Philip, they were not just creditors, they were a threat. And so, in the shadows of his court, a plan began to form. If the Templars could be accused of heresy, blasphemy, and corruption, then their wealth could be seized, their leaders arrested, and their power destroyed. It was a dangerous accusation in an age when faith and fear ruled the world. But Philip was willing to gamble everything.
On Friday, October 13th, 1307, the trap was sprung. Across France, royal officers moved with terrifying precision. At dawn, Templar knights were arrested in their beds, their properties seized, their chapels searched, their leaders dragged away in chains. The operation was swift, secretive, and brutal. The charges were shocking. The Templars were accused of denying Christ, spitting on the cross, worshipping idols, and engaging in obscene rituals. Whether Philip truly believed these accusations or simply used them as a weapon remains one of history's great debates. What is certain is that the arrests were only the beginning. Under torture, many Templars confessed to crimes they may never have committed. The confessions spread fear across Europe. Some rulers followed Philip's example, others hesitated, but the damage had already been done. The once mighty order was now under siege. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was captured and imprisoned. Their lands were confiscated, their reputation was shattered, and the Church, under immense political pressure, eventually moved against them as well. In 1312, Clope Clement V officially dissolved the Knights Templar. The order that had once guarded pilgrims, fought in holy wars, and built a financial empire was erased from the map. Or so it seemed. This is where the legend begins. When the arrests came, many believed the Templars had hidden their greatest treasures before Philip's men could seize them. But what treasure are we talking about? Gold and silver, certainly. Land deeds, relics, sacred objects, and financial records, perhaps. Some legends go much further, claiming the Templars possessed the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, or secret knowledge passed down from ancient times. There is no solid historical proof for these more dramatic claims, but the mystery remains, because the Templars were not ordinary monks. They were highly organized, deeply secretive, and spread across multiple countries. If anyone could move wealth in silence, it was them. Some historians believe the Templars transferred assets through trusted allies before the arrests. Others suggest that much of their wealth was absorbed by the Hospitallers, or seized by local rulers. But the legend of a hidden treasure persists because no single explanation fully satisfies the imagination. Why did Philip's agents find so little? Why were some Templar ships reportedly missing from port? Why did certain records disappear? And why, after centuries of searching, has no one ever uncovered a definitive Templar hoard? The silence itself became part of the myth. The final chapter of the Templars is one of the most dramatic in medieval history. Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master, endured years of imprisonment. Under pressure, he purportedly confessed, then later retracted his confession. In 1314, he was brought before the public in Paris and condemned to die. According to legend, as the flames rose around him, de Molay called out for justice, summoning both the king and the pope to answer before God. Whether the exact words were recorded accurately or embellished later, the symbolism was powerful. Within a year, both Philip IV and Clope Clement V were dead. To many, it seemed like a curse had been fulfilled. The Templars were gone, but their story had entered the realm of legend. For centuries, treasure hunters, historians, and dreamers have searched for the missing wealth of the Knights Templar. Some have looked in France, where the arrests began.
Others have searched in Portugal, Scotland, Spain, and the ruins of ancient Templar commanderies. Some believe the treasure was loaded onto ships and carried away before the crackdown. Others think it was hidden in underground vaults, buried beneath chapels, or transferred to secret allies who protected it in silence. Theories have multiplied over time. Did the Templars flee to Scotland and continue their legacy in secret? Did they help finance voyages that changed the world? Did their wealth survive in hidden archives, waiting to be discovered? Or was the treasure never as vast as legend claims? The truth may be less dramatic than the myths, but no less fascinating, because the real treasure of the Templars may not have been gold at all. It may have been their system, their discipline, their influence, and the enduring mystery they left behind. Even after their destruction, the Knights Templars never truly disappeared. Their image survived in literature, folklore, conspiracy theories, and modern popular culture. They became symbols of hidden knowledge, lost relics, and secret power. Their fall-down inspired centuries of speculation, and their name became synonymous with mystery. In the ruins of their castles and in the silence of their chapels, people still search for clues. In old maps, coded symbols, and forgotten archives, they still look for traces of the Order's final journey. And perhaps that's why the story endures, because the Knights Templars were not only destroyed by history, they were transformed by it. They became a legend. At the end, the fall of the Knights Templars was not just the collapse of a medieval order. It was the dramatic end of an era when faith, war, wealth, and power were locked together in a fragile balance. They rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful organizations in the world. They guarded pilgrims, financed kings, and built a network that stretched across continents. Then, in a storm of betrayal and ambition, they were torn apart. But the greatest mystery remained. What happened to their treasure? Was it hidden before the arrests, smuggled away in secret, lost to time? Or was the real treasure the legend itself, the story of an order so powerful that even after its destruction, the world could not stop searching for it? More than 700 years later, the answer is still buried somewhere in the shadows of history. And that's what makes the Knights Templars one of the most cinematic stories ever told.